Hello, I'm Dave. I run the channel. Normally I work as a machinist in a machine shop, but this is my new side hustle. A good friend of mine at work had this nice little Fender Strat here, which he wanted to get a full setup and adjustment on. Said he wanted the bridge decked out. So, I used to have a channel on YouTube. I had a couple crappy guitar covers. I got mad at one point. He blocked my Blitzkrieg Bop bass cover video, but yet there was like two other people pretty much had the exact same bass cover, but theirs weren't blocked. So I got mad. I took all my videos off and deleted the channel. Then I started a new channel. I might do some more guitar covers later, but for right now, I was doing this setup on my friend's guitar. I'm going to put this video up on YouTube so he can watch and see what I did to his precious Fender Stratocaster. So, taking off all the strings. Have to start somewhere. So, trying out some new strings is the Ernie Ball Silky Cobalts. They're, I guess, coated. I don't know. Rocking out. The reason I'm doing a voiceover for this is because I was rocking out, playing some good jams, and YouTube said that I could not play the music, so I had to mute out all the music. So I'm recording over a voiceover. I do apologize for all the noise. My air conditioner's making all kinds of noise. I'm in my bedroom right now. It's not sound treated, so there's no sound deadening material on the walls or anything like that. Probably one of the poorest YouTube channels on YouTube. Barely have money for tools, but we have enough to get by. Figure, since I can't put music in here, y'all can just put on whatever music you want to listen to and listen to your own music. Whether you listen to me flap my jaws or not, that's a different story. That's not necessary, I suppose. But if you wanted information or enlightenment as to what I'm doing or how I do it, I'm here with a slight video commentary, if you will. First time I ever recorded my voice on YouTube. Probably sounds all funny and crazy. At least it doesn't sound all redneck like it does on the phone. But I guess that's what happens. You from down south from Texas, West Texas. A couple of weeks ago, it was like 108 for like a week straight. So, this poor little Fender Strat's all dried out. We'll get it all conditioned, moistened, ready to go. I just amazingly disappeared. Here I can need something to put all these little screws in. Can't lose them. That would be irresponsible. So we're pulling off the back cover. We're going to end up decking the tremolo. So we're going to tighten it up as tight as I can get it. up against the body so that if you bend the strings, it's not going to move the tremolo and detune any of the higher strings that you would normally detune on a floating bridge. He doesn't use a floating bridge. He doesn't use the tremolo. He says he throws the bar away and just uses it in a hardtail. So we're going to deck it out flat and make it into a hardtail pretty much. Hopefully he'll enjoy it a lot better. Checking my notes here. Making sure I get everything done in the proper order. Notes on what he told me, what he likes about the guitar, what he doesn't like, how it feels good, how he likes the action, and basically all those questions you have to ask. Never did ask him what tuning it was, but he plays blues, so I assume it would be a standard E tuning in a 440, I suppose. So that's what I'll set it up to. I'll ask him tomorrow at work. I might have to adjust some of this if he changes his mind, if he's wanting to be in E flat standard or D standard. Everybody's got all these wild little tunings nowadays. Here I'm just lowering the pickups so that they're out of the way. I'll reset the pickups to the factory height when I get done setting it up. But just so that they're out of the way and they're not deoscillizing the strings when they're moving. I'm going to go to set the intonation, have the intonation be off. So there's little bitty pieces of little plastic film that they put on the pick guard that gets stuck underneath all the screws and everything. A little bit of that here and there, pull off. Okay, I have another camera in the background, but there we go. We had the string tree on the BE only, all the way down on the headstock. It's had a really sharp break angle coming out of the nut, going under the string tree up to the tuning peg, so I replaced the string trees on my telly with some roller string trees. So I happen to have a BE spacer for a string tree lying around, so I'm going to use the BE spacer from my telly to get that string tree off of the wood there. There's the little spacer. I have no idea exactly how tall it is. I suppose I could grab a caliper and measure it, but I don't see why it's necessarily important. But it's the spacer for the BE string, so it should be this string. As I was noticing, it's the wood right around the little screw hole is kind of shredding and kind of not flat and smooth, so pull out my trusty micro chisels and just clean up right flat on the headstock there so that this will lay flat. There wasn't a lot sticking up, so it goes pretty quick. So now I can put on the string tree, put on the little spacer, strategically align it over the hole, and put the string tree on top. Shove the screw in the hole. Get in your hole. Start it by hand. Change the break angle on these strings. It should make it a lot easier to bend the B's and the E's. I know when I changed the roller trees on my telly, there was an amazing difference on how easy it was to bend the strings compared to the original string trees. There's with the little spacer to get it just to where it's not quite so steep an angle. Make it pass through the nut a little easier. So now we're going to try to start decking the tremolos. He said he just cranked down the screws, locked it basically in position. But when he did that, he changed the angle of the tremolo to where it was going up in the back. So it was changing basically the string height and the intonation a little bit. So we loosened up the top 6 screws so that it'll lay flat. And we tightened the claw hook. It's pretty much almost as tight as we can. But to be able to defeat the tension from bending the string so that when you bend one string it doesn't affect another. So we pretty much really got to crank that in there. But it'll stabilize the bridge so that when you do double stops or triple stops and you bend the thicker string, as you bend the thicker string, it'll usually detune the higher strings that provide less tension. So it'll either have to be used to it and kind of bend that string also a little bit. If you can get used to that. But the problem with that is if you're working off an open string and you bend another string, there's not really much you can do with that open string. It's just gonna go flat. And you don't really want it to go flat. The only problem with these tremolos is most of them like this. If you want it floating to where you can actually bend up a half a step or a step, then it's going to detune if you bend a string. So either like with a Floyd Rose full floating, there's the only way to stop it is to get it like a bridge stopper, and then you can't really use your tremolo. It's either full floating or it's blocked. So I'm fixing to put modifying a Kramer Beretta Special I picked up pretty cheap, but I'm gonna change the trim notes on it. When I bought it from Guitar Center, it was missing the trim arm. They didn't care to give me one because, well, the manager here, he got mad because I didn't want to hear his spiel on the extended warranty on the guitar, considering the only reason I bought the guitar was for the body and the neck. Everything else on it will be replaced, which I've pretty much almost done already. I've got some locking tuners on it already. Changed the knob from a little plastic top hat or the witch's hat to a dome. Got a gold pickup ring. I'm changing all the hardware to gold. It's got gold tuners now. Gold pickup ring. I'm gonna order probably a super distortion in gold to match all the hardware and everything. It'll be purple and gold when it's done. It's a pretty awesome guitar. Pickup's not bad. It's a little thin, but it does distort. It's kind of wild. It squeals, but it just doesn't really have the gain that I'm looking for that particular guitar. But I'm fixing to replace the cheap trim that came on it with a Floyd Rose rail tail, which is a Daiv only bar. It rests up against the body. Supposedly, it's not supposed to detune if you bend a string. I don't know how stiff it is. I haven't played one before. It's just in order to get it to that point, I know you lay it up against the body when you set it up. I've seen a couple of setup videos from Floyd Rose where they show you how to set them up. And they pretty much crank them down onto the body. And then you see them play it and, full dive, just no up, which is fine. I just need something with a light trim, something I can basically play Apache with. Granted, Apache was on a Strat, nice single coil pickups, and I don't know, I've been thinking about putting a coil split on there so I can get a single coil tone out of it. I was thinking the other day, it's like, I don't know. I have my telly. The only drawback with my telly is I love my telly, but the pickups are kind of weak. They sound good and everything, but compared to any of my other guitars, if I plug in, well, even, besides the two with the EMGs, the ones that just have standard passive pickups, the telly is just too quiet. I mean, you can hear all the other guitars over everything, but you plug in the telly and it's just so quiet, it gets hidden in the background. So I'm going to try and find some pickups with some slightly more output. So we measured the radius on the neck. It's a truly vintage 7.25 radius, I believe it was. And just making sure all the screws on everything are tight. Nothing loose and rattling. Can't hand the guitar back to somebody you're charging money to. And say, here you go, and have rattles and vibrations, all kinds of noise from stuff just because it's not tight. And it's like, what? I mean, you just, took this thing and charged me a bunch of money to work on this thing. You can't hand it back to me all loose and floppity flippity. Try to get the knobs off so I can tighten up the little nuts on the pots. Still more of that little plastic film everywhere. I'm gonna have to plug in my battery soon. Gotta get the numbers right. Since they're all set up to where all the numbers are lined up in a certain way, so I have to leave it the way I find it. It'd be pretty crappy to be like, oh hey, I messed with your knobs, but they're all crooked now. You can't tell what's full and what's not. More plastic. I've done this to my guitars like 1,000 times, but never really done it for somebody else. So that's why I figured I'd go ahead and record it. If he has any questions about what was done or how I did it, he can see for himself. Full transparency. Maybe one of these days I'll make a little logo and everything and try to make my channel all professional like everybody else's. I watch a lot of guitar videos of people modifying guitars, demoing guitars, all kinds of people. Do a lot of research. Like for this Strat here, I did a lot of research. Make sure to see what kind of specs, factory specs they have for the action height. Oops, all of that stuff. One of the things I did keep finding out about was the Mexican Strats. This is a Mexico Strat. They have nickel frets, kind of soft. They're not real. They're definitely not stainless steel frets. So they're sometimes prone to getting dings. Like if you accidentally almost drop it a little up against a mic stand or something, and the strings hit the frets, it might leave a little dent in the frets, which it's little, it's not that bad. I had an Ibanez RG 470. I bought it used in a pawn shop because it looked just like an Ibanez 570 I used to have before my ex-wife sold my guitar. She sold my Ibanez RG, it was like 1989 Ibanez RG 570, true Joel Blue. It was beautiful. It was like a $1,400 guitar. I got it, I think it was like a 50 off sale for like Memorial Day or something like that. I was in an accident in Oklahoma where I tore the trapezius muscle in my shoulder. Had some bad ligament damage in my shoulder. I had a settlement. So I went in. I wasn't even looking at an Ibanez. I was in Austin. I was going to go buy. I wanted a Kramer. Like a Beretta or something. They had one. It had, I guess, airbrush graphics of like a solar system on it or something like that. It was beautiful. I wanted something like that. I went in. I didn't really have anything, and I was looking around. And the guy at the music store says, "You should try this guitar." And he hands me this blue Ibanez. I'm like, okay. I start playing it. Yeah, here in the video, I'm trying to get a picture of the fret because there's a couple of dings on the second fret wire. There they are. You can kind of see them. They're not real bad, but they're there. Maybe we'll be able to polish them out. But anyway, back to the Ibanez. I started playing with this guitar. It was almost amazing. I hadn't really, I mean, before that I had pretty much a really cheap, my brother bought it for me for my birthday. It was like a cheap Harmony guitar or something like that. It was like maybe $100 or something like that. Yeah. I don't remember. 1985, 1986 or 7 or something like that. I don't even know. But you know, it was, you know, a cheap learner guitar. For like I guess it was like one of the original budget guitars before the budget guitars became cool. But, you know, it did its job. I pounded away on that thing for a couple of years. I don't remember what happened to it anymore. But it was okay. And then a friend of mine had a Gibson SG way back in the day. Went to go see Leonard Skinner. I want to say it was in maybe 92, something like that. So he had a Gibson SG, and he said he needed money really, really bad. He's like, dude, I'll sell you this for like $275. I was like, okay, yeah, sure. I bought it, man. I loved it, man. I played like butter. It was great. I was trying to get some parts for it one day. I was looking up the serial number and everything. Come to find out, it was like 1969 Gibson SG. Like worth a boatload of money. Yeah, it was like a little crack in the headstock. It had been repaired. But I mean, if you weren't looking really, really hard, you wouldn't see it. But man, that guitar was wicked. And me and my wife split up. I moved out. Went back to get my stuff. She sold my guitars. She sold my Ibanez. She sold that SG. Later, come to find out, she lost it in the pawn shop for $750. And she sold my amp. A very vast, extensive CD collection, like really rare Metallica CDs, like Creeping Death, all kinds of stuff that was released once when they put it out on CD and been out of print ever since. All kinds of stuff like that. It sucks. But, you know, you learn a lesson. You don't trust your wife with anything after you split up with her. Because she will take it away from you. Isn't that wonderful? So I'm polishing up these frets. It's an 8,000 grit emery cloth. You can tell the ones that have been polished versus the ones that haven't been. Definitely a lot shinier. Rubbed a blister on my finger doing this polishing, but it's hand polished. I got a Dremel tool, all of that stuff, but I don't have any kind of polishing compound or anything like that. So I just hand polish it with this for now anyway. Pretty much the way I've been doing it for a long time. I'm going to start probably recording some of my guitars when I set up my guitars. Pretty soon I'm fixing to have to do a lot of work on a couple of them. One of my BC Riches is messing up. I'm starting to have wiring issues or shorting issues. It's not playing consistent, so we're going to take that apart and look at it pretty soon. I have a Jackson Randy Rhodes. It has some fret sprout going on. I don't know where it came from, but it ended up here in West Texas where it's a desert, so it's an unfinished maple neck, so it shrunk a bit as it dried. I gotta order me some fret end files so I can fix my fret sprout. Other than that, it's an amazing guitar. I love the Jackson. I bought some pickups to put in it. I got Seymour Duncan. It's the Nazgul Sentient set and the custom red and black zebra. It's a red. It's a black Jackson with the red bevels. So I figured I'd get set of red and black pickups for it. It has some Jackson passive pickups in it. They're not that bad, but I don't know. I had Pie and this guy Dreams for their guitar. Everything was going fine until the economy fell out. So now I'm having to take on side jobs, try to keep up. My truck is dying. Gotta try to get another car. I just got a ticket today for the expired registration, $150 ticket. Person I bought my truck off of, his wife misplaced the title. I guess she put it somewhere and they couldn't find the title. I bought the truck off of him, paid it off, and he couldn't find the title. Thought he gave it to me already. I was like, no, I never got the title. I was like, okay. One day, I guess she works at the bank, so she was going through the safety deposit boxes and found the title to the truck. Handed it to me, and he's like, here you go, we were going to go downtown together, so we worked together, so it's like 3 blocks away from the courthouse. We're going to go after work one day and do all the paperwork to get the title transferred over, but something happened, and he had a stroke and died out of nowhere. So I have a truck, I have a title, the title's not signed, and his wife is not my biggest fan. She kind of, I don't know, maybe was a little jealous of me because we spent a lot of time. We're neighbors. A co-worker's neighbor, he was like one of my best friends. So he was always over at my house, and she kind of resents me for that. So I can't really go there. Ask her, like, hey, would you be nice enough to, sign his John Hancock on this title so I can get the title transferred over? But that's one thing, but the truck's dying. I have another truck. I bought a transmission for it for some people in New York. It's supposed to be tested and checked and all that good stuff. Apparently, they screwed me over. I got a transmission that had big old chunks of metal at the bottom of it. So, kind of got screwed over on that. So I got 2 trucks. One that won't go nowhere. One that, as of right now, I can't really get it titled. So, like today, I got a ticket $150 for expired registration. I'm gonna try and buy a car this weekend, but now I gotta pay a ticket, put me back farther. So much for buying another new car. I can't get to work, I can't make money, I can't survive, but the cops are like, well, you need to pay a ticket, because he was a nice cop, don't get me wrong. I mean, he pulled me over twice before and never gave me a ticket, but I guess he got pissed off today, so he wrote me a fucking ticket. So, sorry about that. He wrote me a ticket, so I'll pay my ticket like a good boy. Start trying to put some money back. Maybe the truck will last long enough for me to get some kind of wheels. I'm trying to get something that will at least last long enough to pay it off before it starts dying on me. Where's this place? In town, since they have low down payments, they say, I went in there today and asked them, it's like, well, what do you consider low down payment? And they said, well, 20%. I said, yeah, that's not really low, but I guess when the used car market's dead, people aren't buying cars. They want as much money down as possible. And I just don't have millions of dollars. I was making a video the other day, coming up with a little logo or whatever. Be in the poor man's studio. Like I said, this is probably the brokest channel on YouTube. I'm sure there's probably somebody somewhere that's got like an earbud mic even worse off than me. And I will lie, I have lighting. Right now I'm using a little crappy USB microphone plugged into my laptop. It's crappy, but it works. It is noisy. It's noisy in my room anyway. But then I don't have any kind of vocal isolation or anything like that. Mostly, like I said, I do guitar covers. And I don't really use microphone very much. Thought about buying an SM57 for like miking up my cabinet. I don't know. Everybody says don't bother, just go digital, use an amp sim and the DAW. But yeah, it works and everything. But I don't know. Sometimes it just doesn't have that raw sound. When you hook up a Marshall to a cabinet and you start playing, that distortion. Like, I don't know, Pantera before Philip and Selma, back when they still had like Jerry Glaze singing, had Projects in the Jungle, like their first or their second album, and there's like a couple tracks with the lead channel on Dimebag's guitar. It's like so filthy gritty. I mean, it was rough. And come to find out, they had mastered all their first 2 or 3 CDs with Terry Glaze were mastered from vinyl. So there was that vinyl grit to the distortion in the lead channels on the songs, and it was like just searing, like it was like a chainsaw in your ear. It's wonderful. But you just can't get that bright, that sound from an amp sim. It just doesn't really happen. You gotta have, a really bright cabinet, a nice, heavily distorted amp, like a Marshall, like a JCM 800, something really, really gritty. Not necessarily high gain, but full gain. I have a Marshall 9100 rack stereo, well, they call it a dual mono block. Basically, it's a stereo amp. It's 250-watt amps side by side. I'm running two 4x12 cabinets off of it, so I have a full stack. I run through the Digitech GSP21 guitar signal processor. It's a nice little effects unit. I have a Widowmaker high gain preamp I can run through the GSP21 as a reverb and delay After Effects out to my Marshall to the cabs. It gets pretty loud. I've been looking at there's a couple videos on YouTube about making isolation cabinets, boxes for your cabinet, so you can play with Marshall in like a home studio and actually get mic'd sounds off of the speaker cab without pissing your neighbors off too much. But I don't know, wood's expensive these days. It costs you $200 to make a pencil. So as of right now, that project will be put on hold. Sure hope this is recording. Be bummed out. I spent 2 hours doing voiceover commentary. I have absolutely nothing to show for it. Be very efficient. So I think I got all the frets polished out now. Still a light couple little dings in that second fret. Not much I can do about that right now. I haven't been authorized for a fret level. I don't really have everything to tackle that right now. So for right now, we'll just do the polish. Later on down the line, he wants to do a fret level or a refret. That's something else. Trying to get a nice picture of how the frets look nice and polished. They don't look too bad. So that's the frets polished off. Tape over the pull pieces on the pickups just to make sure, just in case any of the little metal dust from me polishing off these frets don't get on the little magnetic pull pieces. But y'all are like, this is the boringest video I've ever seen. And I'd be like, yeah, probably. I didn't mean for it to be this boring. I had some nice music blasting in the background. Started out when I was listening to Ride the Lightning. After Ride the Lightning, put on some Van Halen 1. Listened to a bunch of Van Halen. Clean up this fretboard right quick. Wasn't very dirty, but it's kind of dusty. It is West Texas. It's very dusty, it's very hot, it's very dry. Well, that's not true. It rained for a week and a half. And then, as soon as it stopped raining, it was 108 for a week straight. And the second week, then it rained again on the weekend. And then back Monday again, it was 108 again. So it goes from wet, wet, wet to desert dry. So you really gotta have humidor pack in your case, or try to keep it as segregated as possible from everything else. If I was a millionaire, I'd have a little humidor room set up just for guitars. Anything else, nice wood. I'm thinking about building a new desktop computer. My desktop died. It was depressing because I did everything on that computer. Edited videos, recorded audio. And then it died on me and I was distraught. It's like, no! But, you know. And then I started looking at trying to replace it. Turned out at that time it was cheaper to buy a gaming laptop than to try to buy or build a nice, not necessarily high end, but a computer that'll, run the Ableton Live and Wondershare some more, all these wonderful softwares that I own. So we're gonna condition the fretboard now. Cleaned it all off. I'm not exactly sure what it's the Dunlop 65 guitar care set. I don't know if it's lemon oil or what exactly it is that they put in their stuff here. I've been thinking about trying some of that F1 oil or whatever, the fine polish for the frets. Don't usually get into name brand stuff, but I don't know, you can see I got this Ernie Ball mat. I bought that stuff the other week. I think I spent $25 together to get that mat and the little cradle cube for the neck support. But I need to order like some SDMAC file for the fret ends. Getting the fret ends on that Jackson squared away. I had it on sale. It's like $21, which is cheap considering it's like $30 or something. I already ordered some Baroque fret erasers. Maybe it was the Stu Max set. I can't remember. I think it was the 5 Werx set. It might have been the 7 set for Stu Max. I think it was. It's like $50, I think. But it'll make polishing these frets a lot easier, and I won't have a blister on my thumb from polishing the frets like crazy. So we put that fretboard conditioner on the fretboard. Since this is West Texas, it says leave it on for about a minute. I leave it on for like, I don't know, 3 to 5 minutes. It's so dry here, it'll just suck it up like crazy. You can almost kind of see it almost disappearing just looking at it. So after a little while, get back over here, wipe off all the excess. Make the fretboard nice and flat, solid. If it gets really dry, the grain gets really wild. As you bend the strings, move them around on the fretboard, sometimes you can feel the grain of the wood. But if it's properly conditioned and moistened properly, it kind of swells a little bit. And it tightens up the grain to where you don't necessarily feel it so much when you bend the string. There's nothing more annoying on a guitar. It's like having a dent in the fret. Like, I don't know, I got off on a tirade. Anyway, I was talking about, I bought this RG 470 to make up for my 570, and it had soft frets, and there was like a dent on like the 3rd fret or something on the G string, and it was pretty bad. Anytime you like try to bend the note on that fret, it would go up until it hit the dent, and it would go, yeah, it would make this funny little noise as it goes over the dent. It was really depressing. I don't remember exactly what happened, but I ended up taking the guitar apart. I gave the body away. I still have the neck. I use it as a club. It's behind my bedroom door in case somebody sneaks in. Of course, that was before I had my clock. Now somebody busts in the door and sneaks in on me. I got the Glock action, so don't come knocking up in my room. So cleaning up the guitar here, cleaning the neck, the body, making it nice and shiny and pretty, worthy of being a nice Fender Strat. Always wanted one. I'd even love a Fender made in Mexico, although I would prefer a Fender or a maple fretboard. But I do want the 3 single coils. I want something to play Apache on. I've been looking at, people have been talking about the Harley Benton Strat. How it's pretty good. I was watching Greg Fricker, whatever his name is, Fricker, Spectre Music Studios or whatever, SMG, Spectre Music Group. And he was talking about, they had a 25th anniversary Strat and the 25th anniversary Telly. I was playing with the Strat, saying it was just pretty much like right out of the box candy. Didn't even need a lot of setup. I'll say, about my telly, it needed a lot of work out of the box. The intonation wasn't, I mean, it was really, really close. I don't know if they have like a little jig or what they used to set the intonation with, because the action height was not set at all. When I pulled it out of the box, all the saddles were the same height, way low. I was watching this one video where the guy said the action was really, really high. He had to lower his action. Mine was like the opposite. It was like so low, it was almost laying on the fretboard. But I will say the neck was square, straight, no relief at all. And it's a standard telly, only has a single binding, which has the truss rod access under the pick guard at the end of the neck. There's this Slinky Cobalt, it's 10 to 46. But, so I ordered a greasy grease ray gun grill, pick guard, and neck plate. Put them on my telly. Did a full setup. Put a little bit of relief in the neck. Basically going off of spec 6,000s at the 12th fret, or in the middle of the neck. And set the radius on the bridge, the action height. I have to say, I mean, it's a nice guitar. Once I got setup done on it, it plays beautifully. Playing Living Dead Girl with it a lot. The regulator, even Apache bought. I don't know, I play a lot with that telly. It's becoming one of my favorite guitars. It and that Kramer Beretta Special is quickly becoming two of my favorite guitars. My only complaint with the telly is the pickups are just quiet. They're really, really quiet. All my other guitars are so much louder. Like if I'm playing in a mix with a band and I'm playing, we'll say, my BC Rich Bitch. If I'm playing with it, you know, yeah, it's got BC Rich BDSM pickups, stock, passive, PAF, humbuckers. And I'm playing it, everything's fine. I unhook that and I plug in the telly, start playing, and you can't even hear it. It's just so quiet. So, I don't know what pickups I want to get. If I want like some spicy hot Texas pickups. I had those, what were they, the Tex-Mex? I don't know if those were just the ones that were in the Mexico Strats. But I've had a couple people say that they wanted to replace those pickups as well in the Fender Strats, because I didn't necessarily hear if it was because of, you know, 60 cycle hum, or whether it was not, you know, they wanted different tone or whatever they had going on. But they were wanting to replace those. They got, I've been looking at a lot of videos. There's some Lawler pickups. There's a Tone Rider. Some of the pickups are really expensive. I'm not really interested in those. Like they got those, what is it, Gen 4 Fender Noiseless. It's basically a stacked single coil. It's two coils on top, one on top of the other, to make basically like a humbucker. But because they can make two coils, one reversed off the other, it'll basically alleviate the 60 cycle hum. But I was also looking at some EMG pickups, but the only problem with the Telly is there's not really any room to put a battery for a Telly. Like on the Fender Strat, they finally made it's a USB rechargeable battery pack that basically doubles as the rear trim cavity cover. So you don't even have to put a battery under the pick guard or anything. It just plugs into the cover on the back of the guitar. That would be sweet, but you don't have anything like that on the Telly, so I don't know if there's any room for a battery in that little compartment. I'm sure it has dime-sized pots in it right now, but eventually it will have some nice pots and a real switch put in it. When I do the pickups, I'll replace the electronics. I just need it to be just a little louder. I was playing something on Rocksmith the other day, and you couldn't even hear the Telly over the original music that you play over. Like any of my other guitars, like soar over the music. Like I have two guitars with EMGs. One of them is a Daiv signature series. It came with, supposedly, like if you look at the specs online, it says it has active pickups, Daiv active pickups, or Dean something active pickups. It's like, okay. But when I pulled them apart, I was playing Rocksmith, and it seemed the B string was always so quiet on those pickups that anytime I'm playing anything on Rocksmith, it would say I was missing the B string notes. I don't know, I still don't know if it was the pickups or, any of the other notes would work, it would catch and give me credit for all the notes, and then out of nowhere, anything on the B string, you start playing the B string, and it's like miss. And it's like, well, why? So I went and bought a set of EMGs, all new electronics in the Dean. The only thing I didn't replace was the switch jack and the switch. And turned out it was, I guess, the pickups. I don't know if it's now. It does just fine, but the EMGs, they are active, they are boosted. They play really, really loud. Will pretty much drown out almost anything on Rocksmith. And then the Telly is like the exact opposite of that. It's like you struggle to try to hear it in the mix, like plucking it really, really hard. Afraid you're gonna break the strings trying to get it to catch up and be loud enough. It doesn't always do that. So trying to find some slightly higher output pickups. I don't know what to look for. I know Seymour Duncan has, what is it, a quarter pound for Telly. That's one of the things I'm looking into. It's kind of expensive, but then there's some, I don't know what you call them, boutique or hand wired or handcrafted pickups that are cheaper. I don't know about the Tone Rider. I haven't seen the prices on them, but I've seen a bunch of Telly pickup videos, and there's, I guess that's to be found for like $50 or $60 maybe, that they say are pretty good. You hear they'll play some like tone samples that, you know, they don't sound that bad. Oh, maybe try something like that, or the Lawler pickups. I don't know if those are expensive or not. I haven't really done that much research on it to find out exactly, but hopefully I can find something for maybe $50 that'll at least make it loud enough to where I can hear it in the mix. I know it is fairly traditional. It's got the 2 single coils, but there was somebody, I don't know if it was Daryl Braun or somebody, they were looking at the difference between the Gen 4 noiseless, I think it was the Ultra noiseless from the American Ultra series or whatever. It was those pickups versus I can't remember if it was like the 64 set or something like that. But they were comparing them as to which one was quiet. Like, I don't know, it might have been the sound quality, but it was whether or not the noiseless was truly noiseless, and how much of a difference from the 60 cycle home to the noiseless there was. And the noiseless, you know, it came down to, yeah, it reduces 60 cycle home, but it also loses that true single coil sound. So it doesn't sound right. Right now my Telly is bone stock. The only thing I've done to it is I replaced the string trees with the roller string trees and the pick guard and the neck plate, because I went for a specific aesthetic. Like I said, I got the Greasy Cruise Ray Gun Girl pick guard, so I had to take off. It came with the clear acrylic pick guard, so I took that pick guard off. Put dowels in all the little screw holes for the pick guard, glued them in. Put my pick guard on there. Re-drilled new holes, set it all up. I had to trim it. Apparently, the bridge extends a little farther inward than the traditional Fender bridge. So I had to trim like a 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch off of the pick guard. It wasn't no big deal. You can hardly tell by looking at it that I did anything to it. But I call it, it's the Ray Gun Girl Telly. I'm sure I'll do a video on it pretty pretty soon. I don't really do guitar review videos or demos or anything like that. At least as of right now, I don't. I could, I guess. I have a bunch of guitars I could review and long-term review all together. Let's see, I have two bass guitars. I have one Epiphone Thunderbird and a Jackson JS 2 concert bass. And then I have a BC Rich MJ Deluxe Warlock, and I guess it's black. It's got the black with the white bind, or the abalone binding all the way around the entire guitar. The Floyd Rose 84, the EMGs. It's a really nice guitar, neck through body. I guess you could say that's my pride and joy. The best and most expensive guitar that I own right now. And then I have the BC Rich Bitch MJ Classic, which is, I guess it's the Nagano Japan tributes. I want to say the Warlock was made in Korea, and the bitch, I can't remember if it was Korea or Indonesia. It might be Indonesia. And then I have the Dean's Dave Mustaine Signature Series in Cane Graphic. It's just a nice guitar. It was factory blemished. Apparently, when they were putting the clear coat on or whatever, it got bumped or something, and there's like this tiny little spot, tiny little. If you're not looking for it, you won't see it. Where I guess a little bit of the black paint got knocked off before they put the clear on, so they cleared the entire guitar body, and there's like that one little spot where the black paint got chipped off, and that was factory blemished. So I got it. I want to say it was like $267. It's like a fucking like an $800 guitar. And other than the pickups that were on it, like I said, were trash. They didn't even, like the B string. I don't know what it is about the B string, but the B string was weak, flat. Rocksmith wouldn't pick it up. It was, I don't know. Like you could pick down the guitar, like E, A, D, G, B, and by the time you hit the B, it was like kind of muted. It wasn't as loud as the other strings. I don't know if it's just, like cheap Chinese pickups or what. It was made, it says crafted in China or whatever. But I know about 6 months ago, I started noticing it was getting kind of buzzy. I was like freaking out. Didn't know. I thought either my neck was warping or I had like uneven fretwear or something. So, and I didn't even really think about it, but I ran across a video, somebody talking about bridge collapse. I was like, okay, so I was doing a restring on it. It was pretty much my number one guitar. I don't have a case or a gig bag for it or anything, so 9 times out of 10 when I grab a guitar, I usually grab that one and I play it. So I picked it up and I was looking at it. Sure enough, man, my bridge was like dipped, and I got pictures of it. It was like, I don't know. It was sad. It was really, really sad. It was collapsing bad. And I was so depressed. I pulled the bridge off, and I don't know, on the bottom it just says SAR. It's a SAR ABR1 bridge. So I got online and I started looking. Apparently, it's like a cheap Chinese hardware company. And I didn't want to, if that bridge was, that poor. And this is the Dave Mustaine signature series, and with the graphic on the headstock. The expensive one, not the cheap one with the black headstock. And this is the bridge that they're putting on there. First off, the pickups, totally missed the mark. And so, yeah, that bridge collapsed. So I ordered, believe it or not, it's like a cheap, I don't remember if it was Geiger or like a Dobro or even unbranded, but basically it's a roller bridge. It's, get this, the neck is, I guess, like 15-inch radius, because it's not 16 and it's not 14 or 12, so it has to be 15. And I think the closest stock bridge I could find that was, easy to replace was a 14-inch radius. So it's like a 14-inch radius roller bridge that mounted, right into right where the ABR1 bridge went. And while I was at it, I went ahead and grabbed, it had original Grover tuners, but they were so, I don't want to say corroded, but they were starting to look really rough. So I went ahead and pulled them off, and I got some Geiger locking tuners. Replaced the tuners with the locking tuners, and I got the roller bridge. And the volume knobs that came on it, they're real metal knobs. Where it was knurled, I guess it was knurled after they put the black paint on it or something. So it kind of started to rust in the knurling. So I replaced those knobs. I can't remember, I think they were like Galaxy knobs or something like that. It was like black, like silver swirling and little glitters in the knobs. There's some nice little knobs. They're plastic, so they won't rust like the other ones did. So that's always good. But now that it's got the new tuners, the original tuners don't really have, they work great, the Grover tuners. But I had the nut on the G string is tight. I need to buy some nut files for 10 to 46, so I can at least, because the BC Rich bitch also on the G, and not as much on the G on the bitch as on the B string. The B string is tight. It has slipstream break angles coming out of the nut like a Les Paul on the headstock, so I'm gonna buy they call it a string butler. Basically, it'll replace the truss rod cover on the bitch. When the strings come through the nut, they'll come straight through the nut, and then they'll wrap around rollers on the string butler that'll guide the strings to the tuning pegs, so that the break angle coming out of the nut is released, so that it doesn't stick so much going through the nut. Right now I'm trying to decide what I want to do to that BC Rich. It has chrome hardware right now. I don't know I'm sure it's, you know, at the very least close to Goto quality. I think it's Korean probably. Well, no, I think the guitar was made in Indonesia, so I don't know where their hardware came from. Like if it's Indonesian hardware or Chinese hardware. I don't think it's Chinese, but I'm not sure what it is. But I'm sure it would look. It's, it's an NJ Classic. It's natural wood body with the black stringers. So it's maple cap, the ebony fretboard, neck through body. It's a beautiful guitar. But lately, last time I pulled it out of the gig bag to restring it, figuring, you know, the strings got old or broken, it got stuck in the closet and never played. So I pulled it out, I was going to put strings on it, and it turned out it was like I'd already restrung it a while back and just never really played it much. So I pulled it out and started playing it. Turned out there was, I don't know, a wiring issue going on. The pickups kind of going in and out a little bit. I don't know where that came from, so I'm gonna have to look at that and possibly maybe buy some new pickups. I could convert the hardware to gold. It would look a little prettier. Right now it has cream pickups and pickup rings. I guess to go with the wood body, it has the brown top headstock. But it would probably look good with some gold hardware, maybe some black pickup rings and some black pickups. I could get a black super distortion set with like the gold posts and stuff. Make it look really, really nice. Rewire it, get it working again. I haven't looked at its bridge to see if it's been suffering bridge collapse. I bought all three of those guitars, I want to say 2010. So, two 2010 BC Riches and a 2010 Dean. And I also have the Jackson 90 Rhodes. I want to say it's a 2017. I have the Kramer Variety Special. I want to say I bought that in February, so. No, actually, I think I got that in November last year. I got the Telly in February. So I'll get these strings up to pitch here. Try to go slow. I'll work with one string, get it on, tune it to pitch, put the next string on, tune them both to pitch. Because as you tune the one string, it'll detune the other one until you get full tension on the neck. So every time you put a string on, you tune it all the way back up until you get all the way to the end. Tune it, tune it, tune it, strips the strings, tune it, tune it, tune it. And then pretty much by then you should have it in tune, fairly stable. So got all the strings on now. I've never used these cobalt strings before. I bought 2 packs, one to go on his guitar here, and one for I was gonna put it on my Telly, but instead I ended up putting a set of Primo Slinkies on there. It's like 9.5s to 44s. It's weird. It's like right between 9s and 10s. I remember when, before all these 7, 8, and 9 string guitars started coming out, when you had certain strings and that was it. You had like 9s, 10s, I guess 12s and 13s, pretty much. Now you got like 9.5s, 11.5s, 10.5s. Or you got like the skinny top heavy bottoms. I bought a set of those. I was going to put them on my DC Rich Bitch. I love that guitar because there's so much wood that it sounds like a Les Paul. It's got that thick, heavy, rock hard sound. I guess just the weight of it. It's a pretty heavy guitar, but I love it. Pretty much the only guitar. Well, it's pretty much the only guitar I have that's in a natural wood grain. The Telly is a flame maple top, so it's kind of natural woodish, I guess. It has a light 2-color burst on it. The black pickguard, it had a clear acrylic pickguard so you could see the beautiful maple top. But I don't know, to me it didn't look like a Telly. A Telly's either black with a white or red pickguard, or butterscotch with a black pickguard. Mine's not butterscotch, but it's close to butterscotch. In real life, it's got a nice yellowy orange hue to it. In photographs, even in video, for some reason, it looks pale. Like the neck just looks flat and pale. As where in real life, it's a beautiful flame maple fretboard. The body's got a nice, beautiful 2-color burst to it. But in pictures, it just looks so blah. Just doesn't photograph very well. Try to stretch the strings out a little bit, get them to where they'll stay in tune. storage space and shut itself off. I had another angle. It wasn't the greatest, but there's a tiny little few seconds of it at the end of the video. You could call it, I guess, bonus footage. Just to prove I wasn't lying. Okay, so I got the strings on now. The next step will be the neck relief. I have my feeler gauge here. I have to make sure it stays in pitch. You have to be in whatever tuning you're going to play the guitar in mainly. That's one of the reasons I have so many guitars. People's like, well, why so many guitars? You only need one guitar. Like, possibly, yes. One guitar could do you fine. But I play in a lot of different tunings. I have E flat, D standard, my 6,000th feeler gauge. Sometimes drop C. But when you play a guitar, you set up a guitar, you have to set it up for whatever tuning you're going to play. So if you're going to play in drop D, you have to set it up for drop D. You tune it to drop D. You set the relief on the neck at that tuning so that when you're playing at that tuning, it's in the right amount of tension on the neck. Like if you have your guitar set up for standard E tuning, and then you're constantly tuning down to, say, E flat standard, or even D standard, and then you try to play guitar there, the neck's gonna not have enough tension from the strings, so it'll lean forward or lean back, and the relief that you put into the neck for the oscillation of the strings will disappear or shrink, and then the strings will start to buzz. A lot of people, I've seen a lot of bands play live where the guy's playing like drop D tuning or whatever, but he's like playing the same guitar, and he's like just dropping the E string down to D, and then it's like they start playing, and the first two strings are start to buzz a little bit, and you can hear them start to come through in the mix, and you're like, he needs to have another guitar. He needs to have one tuned regular and one set up for drop D. That way when he plays his drop D stuff, it doesn't buzz or not come through the way it's supposed to. So I checked the... I'm adorable. Oh shit. So I checked the relief on the neck. It's actually pretty close. Might be off just a little bit. Did you get anything? So the neck relief was just barely off. It was a little little more than what we wanted. Kind of, just a light little adjustment on the truss rod to get it to the 6,000. Here I'm checking the action height. And it seemed like it was about right on where the spec was, or maybe just like a little lower. So I'm checking the frets to see if there's any dead frets or any buzzing. But I didn't hear anything, so as of right now, I'm probably going to leave it like that. Check the treble side. Like they're saying, what was it? 60 thousandths on the bass side, 50 thousandths on the treble side. But the treble side was like right about 50. But the bass side was at like 55. A little low, so I was kind of tripping out on it. And he had the bridge, he tightened down the 6 mounting screws like all the way down to lock it so it wouldn't move. But when he did that, it raised the back end of the bridge up a little bit, which affected the action height. So I figured he probably had it set where he kind of like wanted it. And I'd probably have to change it. Here I'm trying to check the radius on the bridge, which the radius was pretty much all wrong on the bridge. Some of the saddles were kind of leaning one way or the other. So we're going to set the bridge radius. This part's kind of tedious, but I don't have the bridge ratio set up. Kind of run into a lot of problems when you're trying to bend strings. Since this is a very vintage 7 1/4 inch radius neck, it's going to have some really proud frets on the neck. So if you don't have the radius set right, the strings will choke out when you try to bend them as you go up the hill, they say. Old vintage necks like that weren't really made for doing a lot of bending. Like if you notice in Apache, he only bends the B string. Everything else is done with the vibrato on the tremolo. So as of right now, I'm playing Apache on my telly. So I can do all the bends. But I don't have a tremolo to do the tremolo parts. So I've been looking at cheap, super cheap budget Strat. I haven't come across one yet. Right now, I can't afford anything. Got to get a vehicle before my truck dies. So I stop getting tickets. I went to look somewhere today. They were talking about low down payments. I said, "Oh, what do you consider low down payments?" He said, 20%. It's like, yeah, that's terrible. Even so, he said 20%, but all the down payments that he were quoting was a lot more than 20%. So until they didn't want to do anything with me, so I just left. And I don't have a whole bunch of money. I got like my income tax, a little extra, but not enough to buy a used car these days, apparently. So I'm gonna have to start pulling all the money out of the bank. Putting it in my safe. Take like $200 a paycheck or whatever, and add to the what I have now. Just start putting it away. Right now, I'm afraid if I keep it in my bank, I'm gonna end up spending it. Then I won't have any money to get a car. The truck I got right now is not doing so well. I had to steal the power steering pump off my other truck to put on this one, because my other one was just leaking so bad. Well, it totally straight just went out all the way to where even if you put fluid in it, it wouldn't work. And it was almost impossible to drive. So took a day off from work. Took the pump off of one truck, put it on the other. Put me back in business.
Bitch, I'm adorable.
Goodness gracious. I think I got the radius set on the bridge now. Now I'm checking the nut slot. Seeing how deep the nut slots are cut. Which, they weren't that bad really. The D and the G were a little high. Like I said, I don't have nut files yet, so we're gonna skip that for right now, and I'm not charging him full price. So it's okay if I don't do the nut slots. Now if I was charging him 90 or 120 like any other shop would, you sure as heck expect me to cut the nut slots right. So here I'm using a piece of string paper, which the little flap is supposed to be 0.10 of an inch thick. Checking to see how much whether or not there's enough clearance, enough rates. But both of these were pretty good. The A and the B, not that far off. The D and the G were the lie. They should probably cut a little lower. If I had the files, I would have filed it down a little bit. It is a nice bone nut. It's not plastic. And it took forever. This was on an Independence Day. I didn't really have anything else going on. All my local family was busy working and stuff, so I had a day off from work. So I jumped on my side hustle here. Worked on this beautiful little Strat here. Wish I had one. Although, like I said, I prefer the maple fretboard. Candy apple red or black would be nice. So, check the nut height. Did the string bridge radius. I believe at this point we're ready to set the intonation. And unfortunately, like I said, the GoPro ran out. Well, I was noticing as I did this that now that the strings are all to pitch, have proper tension on them, that the tremolo was lifting up from the body just a little bit. So I had to tighten the tremolo back down a little bit more. Eventually we did keep it flat, and it is hard-tailed to where it won't detune any of the strings if you bend them. But we're ready to set the intonation on the bridge. Which it was pretty good. I think I only had 2 strings, well, 2 or 3 that really needed a little work. But I think it's when he tightened the bridge down and it pivoted up, I think he reset the intonation a little bit to make up for the angle of the bridge. And then when I laid it back flat down, it was just off by just a little bit. So, just had to adjust it a little bit. Can't really see me when I start. I should have had the GoPro in a different spot, looking in a different angle. Hindsight's always 20/20. What was his name? Captain Hindsight. You should have did this and you should have did that. Oh, thank you, Captain Hindsight. I haven't really had a chance to play this Strat. I got it all set up. Started trying to edit the video and get that part done so I can get it up on YouTube and you can see what's going on. But I don't want to give it back to him until I play it. See how it feels. I didn't really play it before, but You know, I mean, the bridge is kind of all pivoted at a weird angle. Action kind of seemed a little high. Wouldn't have really been anything to notice by, other than the fact that the action was kind of high. I don't know about the pickup height. I didn't measure where his pickups were, but I told him I could set everything up to Fender specs, and he said that's good. So that's what we went with here. Other than the bridge setup, there's like a couple of ways you can set the bridge up. They say to properly fender float the bridge, it's supposed to be tilted forward slightly with a 1/8 inch gap underneath the back of the bridge and the body. Supposedly that sets it to where if you pull up on the tremolo, you get one full tone or one semitone, depending on how you have it set, how far you can pull it up. Most people set it up to at least a semitone or a full tone. But he said he throws the tremolo bars away when he gets in. He just wants it hard-tailed. So without pulling the bridge, putting a block of wood in there, and basically blocking and filling in all of the cavity for the tremolo and everything, and screwing a hardtail straight down to the body. This is the next best thing. Utilizes the original hardware, so in case you ever wanted to sell it, all you gotta do is buy a bar, release the tremolo claw so that it'll float again, and then it's back to Fender style, Fender quality, Fender design. So here I'm checking the pickup height from the pole to the string, setting the height accordingly. Get it all down to Fender specs. This way, they set it up to specific heights to keep the magnet from messing with the oscillation of the strings reverberate in a specific orbit. If the pickups are too close to the strings, it'll change the orbit of the strings and make them sound weird, not reverberate properly. So you don't want that. Some people, they get like a Strat like this, and you're like, oh, it's the ultimate guitar. My idols play Fender Strats. Eric Clapton plays a Fender Strat, so they go and they buy a Fender Strat. Next week they're into AC/DC, and they're like, I can't get the distortion out of it, so I raise the pickups as high as I can to get as much gain out of them. You get a little bit of gain, but the strings start sounding funny. The low end sounds all jacked up, blasphemous. And basically, the sound quality goes down. I mean, you could have some really nice Fender pickups in there, and if you set them wrong, they're not going to sound true. They're going to sound like some cheap crap. Like, when I first started playing guitar, we'll say 1986, 87, when you bought a budget guitar, man, it was ridiculous. Like, one of my best friends, Ryan, we played guitar together when we first met and started hanging out. He had a Les Paul copy. I want to say it was like a Greco, which is, weird. I believe it's Japanese, but I mean, they were considered total crap. If it wasn't a Gibson, it was total crap. Any copy was total crap. And back then, I don't know if you could consider that to be true, or because like nowadays you can watch some of the videos on YouTube, some of the budget guitars that they're putting out now are killing the hot dollar stuff, like Firefly. I've never played one. I've kind of wanted to check one out and buy one and see. But, like I said, right now I don't have the money. I'm trying to get a car. But, like the Fireflies, a lot of people say they play better than the $2,000 Gibson Les Paul. I've never played a Gibson Les Paul. I hear, everybody talks, wonders about, oh, it's the greatest guitar you could ever buy, blah, 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 blah. And then you hear about the G-string problems with the Les Paul. And it's funny, there's an interview with Aldo Nova. Pretty much nobody knows who he is. It was like the first concert I ever went to in 1983. It was Cheap Trick, Aldo Nova, and Kick-Axe at the Frank Irwin Center in Austin, Texas. But he was talking in this interview. He has a Gibson. He's the only person that ever had a custom Gibson Les Paul made that had the Explorer headstock, because it had the straight break angle coming out of the neck. He showed a picture of it and everything, and then, God, it looks weird, But I bet you that is a badass, awesome Les Paul. But they talk wonders about these Fireflies. Now they got, like I said, they got the string butlers. You can buy those for the Les Pauls. I guess that's what they were originally made for, because certain people, I guess, you buy a Les Paul for a specific tone, a specific sound. And the main drawback to that sound, that quality, is the G-string issue. So they put out the string butler. People say it, it pretty much does what it's supposed to. It straightens the string coming out of the nut, so it doesn't have a weird break angle. It goes through the nut at a slight angle to where it's getting pinched and caught. And then it's basically the tuning instability for the G string is the string gets pinched in the nut as you tune it up or down, and then it gets stuck where it is, and then as you bend the string or slide and move it a little bit, it'll move in the nut and re-stabilize its tension, and then it's out of tune again. So then you tune it back up, and it gets pinched at the nut and it gets tighter, either pre-nut or post-nut, And then as you bend it or whatever, it goes back to the tension, evens out the tension, and then it's out of tune again. So that's the fatal flaw of the Gibson Les Paul. So lots of people, if you notice right now, that there is an amazing lack of people playing Les Pauls. That and the fact that they're wanting depending on the guitar, $5,000 to $17,000 to $23,000 for a Gibson Les Paul. And then you spend that much, and you got a very nice decoration for your wall that has a serious G string problem. And I mean, there's luthiers out there that talk about they cut Les Paul nuts specifically a certain way to basically introduce that offset angle into the nut so that it doesn't pinch or break the break angle on the nut. It's in the nut instead of like behind the nut where it'll pinch and rub. So I don't know, you could say it helps. I don't know. I've never had a Les Paul. I've never cut the nut like that to see if it helps at all. But they say the string butler helps, especially if you got the nut slots cut properly. It should be pretty good. But I got my BC Rich bitch has the same type of headstock pretty much, 3 left, 3 right. The bad break angles, just like a Les Paul. So I got a couple different kinds of those string butlers. The one for the Les Paul is supposed to mount underneath the bushings for the tuning pegs to keep it flat up against the flat or the headstock. And then they also make, but it kind of like if you have a Les Paul, it blocks or half covers up the little ornamental inlays in the headstock. And for the BC Rich, it just says BC Rich right in the middle of the headstock. So they have one that basically replaces the truss rod cover. So I'm probably going to buy one of those for my bitch and see if that helps with my problems. And if not, I'm going to end up getting a Graphtec nut. Probably recut it out and get a nice nut going on in there. See if I eliminate my G-string problem. Get everything set up. Well, that's just about everything for this here guitar. The intonation is set. The pickup height is set. The tremolo is decked. The neck relief has been set. The only thing I didn't do is file down the nut slots. I didn't do a fret level. I'll have to play it and see how bad these two little dings on the second fret are. I ordered some fret erasers, so at the very worst I can polish it out a little more. As long as it doesn't make the fret too low. I don't want to have to do a fret level on it. It's not what I'm looking forward to. Once you do a fret level once or twice, you're pretty much to the point where if anything else happens to it, you're gonna have to get a full fret job. And as of right now, I'm not looking forward to doing anything like that. If I have to do it on my Randy Rhodes, I might, but hopefully I just need some fret end work. But that's about all for this video. I do again apologize for the air conditioning being all noisy in the background. If it gets all quiet on me here and you can't hear me here and there, here's some of that bonus footage. I did have the GoPro set up over here, but it went out really quick. Well, it went out about an hour into the video. I didn't expect to be this long, but like I said, it was Independence Day and I was kind of just sitting around enjoying myself. So thank y'all, and y'all have a good afternoon. Subscribe, like, if you like. I'll try and make more content.